Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Hubinar. I'm Randy Hawthorne, your executive editor here at Nonprofit Hub, and today I have with me Maryanne Dersch, and I'm super excited about this because this is a topic that isn't being talked about a lot, but I think it should be. And I'm going to be probably feverishly taking notes over here myself. She's from the Midwest. We're in Lincoln, Nebraska. She's in St. Louis. That doesn't happen very often. Usually we're talking to folks on the coast, so this is exciting to me too. And you know what? Good morning, Maryanne.
Good morning.
So good to see you. I'm going to hand it right on over to you because I think you have a heck of a lot of things to say today.
I do. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me, as Randy said, from the St. Louis, Missouri. And today I am going to be talking about something that a lot of people aren't talking about, which is money, mindset, and fundraising. And I'm going to talk about why that is and how to create a better relationship with money so you can raise more of it. So first, I'm going to talk about, hold on. Oh, okay. Just trying to use my technology. So first, let me just explain what money mindset is. If money were your friend, what kind of friend would that be? I ask people this question a lot, and I get a lot of like really weird, like, what does that even mean? Or, whoa. So if money were a friend, what kind of friend would it be? If money wrote you a letter, what would that letter say? And if you wrote a letter back, what would that letter say? That I just use that as a way to like money mindset is really how we think and feel about money in our lives. And we're taught a lot, we don't, polite people don't talk about money. You don't talk about how much you earn. And so it gets shrouded in mystery. And we often don't understand why we do the things we do around money. And so I'm going to first explain money mindset and fundraising, and then I'm going to talk about why this can make fundraising difficult. And then I'm going to talk about how to make it all better. So by the end, you will have some really concrete strategies for creating a better relationship with money and with fundraising so you can make more. The underlying premise of everything that I'm going to teach you today is that what you embody, you attract. So if you feel like fundraising is a chore and a burden, that's what you're going to get back. If you feel like it's a gift and you're creating a rich culture of philanthropy, that's what you're going to get back. So if you're one of those organizations that's stuck in the mindset that fundraising is hard, then you are in the totally right place today. So let me go. So money mindset just means it's an individual set of beliefs about money and how money works in the world and your attitude towards it. And our money mindset dictates how much money we'll have. And so by extension, it would dictate how much money we raise. If you believe money is the root of all evil, you're going to have a hard time bringing money into your life. And the other underlying premise of what I'm going to teach you is that everything is energy, right? Everything is energy, and money is currency, and that currency has an energy to it. And so creating a healthy energy around money and the money that you raise is really important. And we're going to talk about that and how to do that. So the first thing I wanted to tell you is that we need to understand how the brain works so we can make it work for us. Our brain is hardwired. Evolution did this to us. It's hardwired for fear, right? So when you're sitting with a prospective donor, it's the same as if a bear is coming at you, right? Your brain is like lit up in the same way. And so we are hardwired for fear. Our subconscious is like that friend that's next to us going, don't do it, that's scary. Maryanne, don't do that. That's too much. It's constantly reminding us what is fearful, and that was did us well by evolution when the world was a much more dangerous place. But our brains are still hardwired that way, and our brain's programming. So we have our subconscious and our prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is how we learn. Our subconscious is how we do. And so our money and our money stories are part of our subconscious programming. and we are driven by that. So I'm going to talk about like how sometimes people do really illogical things around money, or just illogical things anyway, and why that's hardwired. And in the battle of your conscious brain over your subconscious brain, your subconscious will win almost every time unless you consciously change the programming of your subconscious brain. And I will teach you how to do that as well. I'm a huge student of this, and it has really affected my life in many ways beyond money. But just to be able to change the stories that your brain tells you, and create stories that serve you better in any aspect of your life is a very, very powerful thing to do. So I'm going to talk about what's not working. Why are you all? I have 143 lovely people here with me today. Why are you here? You're here because probably what you're doing isn't working. We want external solutions, and I understand why we want external solutions, because facing our fears, exploring mental blocks, exploring our history and our stories and how they came to be around money and other things, that can be a little intimidating. So we say, hey, give me a script, give me a tool, give me a template so that I can fix this without fixing this, right? Like I just want this external solution. Well, what happens is those scripts, those templates, and I'm not saying those don't work, they work, right? But there's a limit to what they can do, because if the energy and the thought behind them is negative, then that tool is not going to be as powerful. So thinking about what if you could, because our thoughts become our words and our words create our reality. So if we can change our thoughts, restructure our thoughts to make a service better, then these tools that we have are going to be so much more productive. A script, a template, a program, gift tables, all these things to relieve that pressure, to relieve our pressure. Those are tools. They don't address the underlying root cause, which is our fears. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's like, that feels a little overwhelming sometimes, like feelings are messy and, I don't want to have to, but really, if you want to elevate your game, this is what you got to do. You got to go from the inside out. And then what happens is all those scripts, programs, templates are going to work so much better for you because you have the right mindset going in. So, and especially now in the world of Corona, everyone is called to elevate their game. We are in a civil rights revolution. Everything we are as nonprofits is coming into being because we are needed. Because I feel like this is what I feel is that the virus and everything that's happening politically is stripping bare what's truly inequitable and unjust about our world. And now it's up to us to really elevate each one of our games to meet and to create the just, equitable, sustainable, community-driven world that we have been advocating for years. And for me, this is the moment. Like, this is the moment for us to ascend. And in order to ascend this way, we have to go this way. And that's what we're going to do. So this is me and my mom. She passed away a few years ago. She was a really kicky lady. And I got my money story from my mom. And I'm going to share my money story from my mom. But first, I'm going to share my story really briefly so you can understand who I am and why I'm before you today. So here we go. This is just a quick little rundown of me. So this is a picture of my family. I am not in this picture. The little girl on my dad's lap is my sister. I was born 7 years after my sister was born. So my mom had 4 kids in 6 years, and then 7 years later, surprise, it was me. And my dad worked for Anheuser-Busch, as Randy said. I said I'm from St. Louis. And my dad, he used to call me Michelob because their slogan at the time was the unexpected pleasure. And I grew up feeling, although my family adored me, I grew up sort of feeling like I was a mistake. I wasn't supposed to be. And I took on this this personality of I didn't quite fit in. And I dealt with that in 2 ways. One is I liked a lot of attention. And I developed a very, very strong sense of empathy because I always felt left out and left behind. I'm going to show you this. Now I'm getting real with you here. This is a letter that I wrote to my family. I call this my first direct mail appeal letter that was sent down the steps of my house when my whole family got to eat pizza and I had to go to bed. And you can see that it's not fair that I didn't get pizza. And if you can see at the bottom, it says, "Your lovely, dear, sweet, your pretty, dignified, warm-hearted daughter, Maryanne." This is how I felt. And this is funny and also very poignant for me because this is really how I felt a lot about growing up. Everyone else was doing something and I was over here. Fast forward to many years later, of course, I'm in my therapist's office talking about feeling left out and left behind around a situation. And I was talking about how a friend had criticized me and how much that stung. And my therapist said, "Well, Maryanne, a whole person can manage praise and criticism without derailing themselves, because praise and criticism are really the same thing." I'm like, "How can they be the same thing?" She said, "They're just other people's opinions of you." And in that moment, and this is true, this is exactly what happened. In that moment, two things came forward really fast for me. One is that because I always felt less than, right, I was overly dependent on praise and terrified of criticism, just as she's pointing out. And then the other thing that came forward is, oh my gosh, all my nonprofit clients are overly dependent on praise and terrified of criticism because they feel less than. And if I am going to help them to do the work that I feel I was called to do, to help them communicate their worth and to help them really stand in their value, to ask for and receive what they want, need, and deserve, I needed to do that for myself first, right? So I went on a journey of self-discovery to understand my value so that I could help you understand your value. And this is true. And so I wrote my book. It's called Courageous Communication. This is it right here. I started my company by the same way, and I put myself on a mission to really help nonprofits understand and embody who they truly are, and so that they can attract what they want, need, and deserve. Because you have to embody what you want to attract. You can't ask for something. You can't ask for someone to step up into leadership when you're not willing to step up into leadership yourself. You can't ask someone for an investment if you're not willing to make an investment yourself. And it's not the amount, it's the intention. So this is what I teach now. And this is what and I share that story with you so that you understand that who I am and what I teach is hardwired in me from birth, right? So, and what I also learned is I wasn't an accident. I'm a freaking miracle, right? And we are all miracles, and we are all put on this earth for a reason. And this is our time really for each and every one of us to elevate and shine. Okay, so I'm going to talk about why fundraising is the worst. Fundraising is the worst. It's the worst. Okay, why is fundraising the worst? So we tend to hesitate around this, and the organizations that are struggling with fundraising, man, is it coming up hard now? If you struggled before coronavirus, you're really struggling now, right? Because it's hard to find value. If you're struggling with your value, it's hard to find it out. And one of the things I do is really help organizations stand in their value. Like, why is what you do right now more important than ever? Why is what you do right now important? And also with the loss of events, okay, so we lost events. We can't have, let's say, a lot of your income stream is from events. Well, if we can't have big events for the next couple of years, let's just assume we're not having 400 to 500 people in a room again for a couple of years. I don't know if that's true or not, but let's just make that assumption. How are we going to generate that income? Well, we're going to have to, one of those is through individual giving. Well, if you're not comfortable with individual giving, which is why you went event heavy in the first place, we need to explore why that is. Why is it difficult to ask people for money? So this is the first thing of why. It doesn't feel fair. There's a concept called market value and social value. Market value means I buy shoes. I love heels. I'm the high heel diva. I buy a pair of heels. I give them money. They give me the shoes. That's a fair exchange. Fundraising is a social value, which means there's an exchange, but it's a little less direct. And so so let's say I sell you a ticket to an event and it's $300, and you know that that event really cost that organization $100 or $75 to put on, but I'm getting this great experience and I'm having a good time. Well, that feels fair. That feels like an exchange. If it doesn't feel fair, it's hard. Like, oh, I'm going to ask you for $5,000, and what are you going to get from it? A thank you, a good feeling? That doesn't feel fair. Because we're looking at it through a market value lens, not a social value lens. And so I'm going to give you some words and ways to shift this thinking. The other part is, I don't know why this works sometimes and not others. It's like I hit it wrong. Wait, I think this is it. Okay, I have my cursor in the wrong place. I'm all good now. Fundraising is the worst because money is a trigger. I said our subconscious drives our relationship with money, and we have something called a wealth set point. So a wealth set point means how you think and feel about money determines how much you'll have. How much you're comfortable with determines how much you'll have. And we have huge swings in thinking around money, and nonprofits especially have embraced the idea of scarcity. There's only so much money out there. There's only so much money for philanthropy. I have to get my slice of the pie. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. In my past, I worked for 16 years for a company, and I may have said, listen, you need us because you have to market effectively because there's only so much money, and you know, you need to get it. And so when we believe in that scarcity, then our decision making is driven through fear. And when you embrace abundance, which means there's enough out there for everyone, we just haven't connected to it yet, then that's a different thinking. And I'm going to talk about scarcity a little bit more, but money is always a trigger, right? Like, I can't think of a topic more triggering than money. So that's kind of why fundraising is crazy. And fundraising, asking makes people insecure. It's putting yourself out there a little bit. So we do what I call fundraising without asking. Those are grants, events, direct mail, because fear and insecurity drives the action. So if fear and insecurity is driving, like if the fear of my subconscious is driving my decisions, fundraising feels like sales, and sales feels icky because I feel pushy or I'm afraid to be rejected. So we kind of shy away from this. And the other thing is, fundraising exposes a fixed mindset. So you will, if you believe you're doing as much as you can, you will never do more. This is a big thing with nonprofits, and I have empathy. I'm not criticizing anything because I know there's a lot to do, and there's even more to do now. But if you believe you're doing as much as you can, you'll never do more. And so it's like, we can only do this much. And that shows up like this. It shows up like, I don't know how we're ever going to get this done. Or if somebody comes up with a new program or idea and you're like, this is never going to work, or this, I don't know how this will ever happen. A growth mindset says, well, I'm not sure how it's going to happen, but I know we'll figure it out. It's a leap first and the net will appear mentality. And so one of the clients that I'm working with, I teach a class on influence. I teach a course on influence, like how to get people that you have no authority over to do what you want them to do. And you know, she has a growth mindset. She's like, I hired a full-time person. I didn't really have the money to pay, but I know nothing's going to make me hustle harder for it than to bring her on. So growth mindset, like I said, it's a leap and the net will appear approach. And organizations that have a growth mindset, of course, if you believe you can do more, you'll do more. If you believe you can't do more, you won't do more. And exposing and helping shape an organization into a growth mindset is really so critical to the success of any program, especially fundraising. So, excuse me. All right, and lastly, fundraising is the worst because of what I call the big lie. I mentioned this a little bit, but this Chronicle Philanthropy cover was from November, so like that feels like a million years ago. But it says, and this is really, but it says the SEOs of the you can't read the subhead, but it says that the CEOs of the country's biggest charities, are doing well, but worry how long the good times will last. So, the 100 biggest charities, the Salvation Armies, the St. Jude's are like, wow, we're doing really great, but the bottom could fall out at any time. And this is so if the big guys are scared, what are us little guys going to do, right? Like, how can we ever make it? But the scarcity is not true, and our universe is abundant, and there's enough out there for all of us. And when we attach to that, all of a sudden we see opportunity all around us. And a fixed mindset and a scarcity system limits our opportunities. A growth mindset and an abundant mindset opens us up to opportunity. And so, but the scarcity is really, it's across our whole sector. And I have a lot to say about this that I'm not going to go all into right now, but it limits us. It limits us from investing into ourselves. It limits us from collaborating, and it just keeps us in reactive mode instead of proactive mode. But I call it the big lie, which is there's only so much money. There's no other industry that says there's only so much money. Like, there's only so much money for online shopping. One of my mentors is an oil man. He never says there's only so much oil or there's so much money in oil. You can think about how you think and feel about money is rooted in this idea of scarcity or abundance. And it is a leading indicator of how much money that you can raise. So if you're coming from a place of scarcity, you need that gift. You have to have. And that comes from lack. And when we're in abundance, you say, you know what? Money flows to me through people. And if you're not that person, that's okay. That'll open me up to the next person. All right, so, and in fact, right after COVID, the VBB Wise Giving Alliance did a whole study, and most donors, 30% said they give to more. Most donors said they were going to give as much or more, and I think there's evidence all around us that people are incredibly generous, even in a crisis. And the organizations that are faring the best during this are the ones that are keeping with their marketing, keeping with their fundraising. In 2008, the big lesson that we learned was don't stop. Keep asking, because when you stop, you're doing two things. One, you're just losing momentum and traction on the marketplace. And two, you're dehumanizing your donors and making assumptions for them instead of letting them decide for themselves whether it's a good time to give. In 2008, people stopped asking for money. They stopped talking with their donors. And the donors was like, okay, wait, I don't have as much money as I did before, but I still want to stay connected. Like, wait, I don't have, just because I can't give doesn't mean you don't like me anymore, or you're not communicating. So it's really important to just stay in it. And know that you are worthy of investment in any circumstance. And in fact, what you do right now is more important than ever. Okay, so now I'm going to switch a little bit, because fundraising is a gift, right? So what I just said, respect your donors, let them decide. Fundraising is a gift. Why is fundraising a gift? It's a gift because it attaches you to two things: your power and your purpose. Fundraising helps people feel that they're attached to their power and their purpose. When we're in a crisis, we feel out of control. And really, the thing is, we never had control. It just shows up a little stronger than before. But what we do have is our power and our purpose. So if we can connect with that, it helps us manage a crisis. Well, our power means our assets, right? And that's our money, our gifts, all the things we have to share. Our purpose is our legacy, our mission, what we're truly put on this earth to do. And any time we can connect to those in any circumstance. So, and when donors, they can connect to their purpose, which is the legacy they want to leave, which is they want you to do well. They want you to stay in good fiscal health because they know that you're needed more than ever. And then their power, they feel good getting to share their assets. So if you can, if you feel like fundraising is a burden, that's a burden for people, then of course it would be hard to ask. But if you feel like it's a gift and it's going to attach people and connect them to their power and their purpose, then of course you want to ask. But fundraising is a gift. Okay, so now that I've established that, we're going to go talk a little bit around back into the idea of our money stories. What are the money stories we have? Well, our money stories come from our parents, right? So you know a little bit about my life, right? How I was shaped, how the mess of my life and how that became my mission in life. But our money stories come from our parents, and they affect our relationship to personal money and to our fundraising. So I have a series of ebooks, but this is one that you can download. You can go to stopaskingformoney.com and on other powerful lessons to master fundraising. This is exactly a lot about I'm teaching you. It's about mindset and fundraising and rearranging your relationship. And there's like 17 lessons in there. And you're free to download that at any time. That's just a little gift to you. And a lot of what I'm covering and what I'm about to cover is in there in a lot more detail. So here we go. So back to my mom. My money story. And I want, as I share this, I would like you to think about your money story. So my money story is my parents. I'm, as you know, later in life child. My parents were born in the 20s, and I'm 54. My parents were born in the 20s, and they grew up during the Depression and World War II. And my mother was a very austere person. She was a lot of fun, but she could stretch a dollar. And her philosophy was, you have to hold on to your money because you never know what's going to happen, because she grew up in really turbulent times. I adopted that philosophy, although it expresses it the other way. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so just do what you want today. I was still absorbing my mother's money stories. I just expressed them differently, right? So, but my mother really was, the model of frugality, in my life growing up, and I absorbed my money stories from her. Now, I'm going to share some personal and organizational money stories so you can understand where I'm coming from. So thinking about, you think about people who win the lottery. Most people who win the lottery, who win an extraordinary sum of money, burn through that money in a very short period of time. And you think, why would they do that? That is so crazy. And it is because of their subconscious programming. It is not comfortable having that much money. And our subconscious is the driver of most of our decisions. And so, they quickly burn through the money and go back to the wealth that they had before, because really that's what their brain is telling them to do. And I'll tell you another story. Like I mentioned, my mentor, he grew up very poor, and he amassed great wealth, and he would make millions and then lose it. And I would say, what was you losing on? He's like, it's like I couldn't get rid of it fast enough. I was making bad deals and doing all the stuff, and then I'd go broke, and then I'd make it again, and I'd go broke. And he's like, finally, what's going on? And he realized his mother taught him that rich people were selfish. And when he realized that was his money story, and then he consciously retrained his brain so that he could accept what was coming to him. Now, these are extreme examples, but we all have money stories in our life that drive our decision making. So I'll give you two examples. I was doing a training in Chicago, and it's beautiful Y in Chicago, and our training room's on the top floor, and we all walk in. And this woman says, one of my attendees said, wow, this is really nice. And her tone was, this is a little too nice. Obviously, these people, she goes, wow, this is really nice. She goes, they must have money. Almost that it was bad that this Y had a beautiful training space that was a very nice facility. And I didn't say anything then, but we were working on fundraising and money mindset. And so I dove into, and I said, can we talk about that comment? Because and when you walk into your nonprofit, do you say, oh my gosh, these people have money. Like, it's a bad thing for them to have money. And she realized that both she and the nonprofit she worked for really had a scarcity mindset. and that we have to suffer and struggle in order for others to be better. Instead of what probably this Y was modeling is we embody what we want to seek in others. And so the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri and St. Louis, they have this really nice office space. And the first time I went there many years ago, and the director said, I said, do people say this is too nice? And she said, I only want the best for my staff and the people we serve. And so as nonprofits, we want to excuse our money. We don't want to look like we have any because we feel like it's a misuse, instead of creating the world in ourselves and in our organizations that we seek for others to have. You can't tell other people, you can achieve whatever you want and lift other people up out of poverty while putting your own staff and your own organization into poverty. That's called out of alignment. I'm about to get off on that. I'm going to stop myself right now. It's in the book. It's in the ebook if you want to read more about being in alignment. Okay. So, but one more story I'm going to tell you about financial. So I'm in a training with a board member, and we were talking about money stories, and she just had this vast moment of clarity, and it was really great to watch. She was on a board of an organization, and she said it was such a contentious relationship. Well, now she knows why. She grew up poor. Her mother was a single mom, and they struggled with financial insecurity. When she got some good job and started to earn good income, she wanted to save everything she could because she never wanted to experience that financial insecurity that she grew up with. She was a saver, saving, investing. Her whole reason was to prepare for a better future. The board that she got on, the executive director of this organization, was a break-even kind of person. They probably modeled a lot of the of this idea of like, hey, the money will come, it'll show up, and it kind of always showed up, and it was okay, and that's how they managed. Now you can imagine this person who's rooted in saving with this other person who's like, yeah, you know what, the money will show up, because that was their money story. I don't know the executive director's money story, I'm just guessing. Now I said, do you realize the arguments that you were having had little to do with what was actually going on, and a lot more to do with these money stories that are rooted in your past, right? And so she couldn't see the organization for what it was because she was so consumed that it wasn't saving and it wasn't reinvesting in an endowment or whatever the way that she wanted. And it was like, wow, now she got where all that passion came from, how it was so unsettling for her to deal with that. So that's just a couple of examples. I'm hoping from my examples, you can look at your own money stories and your organizational money stories, how you think and feel about money. If you feel like, oh, we're just a poor little nonprofit, that is going to be reflected in how you operate and how you interact with the world. So the goal is to create new stories and start repeating those stories. Once we understand what stories we have, we can create new stories and repeat and retrain ourselves for those stories. I'm going to go into a little more how to do that. So what I have folks do, I have a course called Fearless Fundraising. What I have folks do is we talk about in the past and now I am. So in the past, and you can put in your money source. In the past, I thought rich people were selfish. Now I am confident in my ability to make and keep money responsibly, in a way that serves me and everyone around me. So I can take that money story that drove me and I can just say in the past, and you can do this with anything. I did this with handwriting. I'm really messy at handwriting. And then I decided, you know what, in the past, I was messy with handwriting. This is true. I'm a spiller. In the past, I was a spiller. And then I just decided one day, I don't do that anymore. I don't know why. Like I would go to restaurants or a party and I was always knocking something over, maybe because you can see I talk with my hands. And I decided in the past, and I swear, I haven't spilled since. But you can do this with anything, but we really look at our money stories and say, in the past, I was afraid to call potential donors. Now I am comfortable talking with people because I know it helps them attach to their power and purpose. However, we can reframe those stories, but first we have to understand what they are so we can kind of retrain our brain to move past them. And what happens is once you become conscious of these stories in your head, even stories like my husband will say, I'm not good with money. And I'm like, that is a story that you tell yourself, you know, so you don't have to pay the bills. And he's like a scientist. He's the brightest guy I know. He's actually working for a local company and they're making a COVID test. So there you go. That's our contribution to the solution. So in the past and now I am thinking about your money stories and just reframing them and creating a new story in your brain that your brain can tell itself over and over. Once you consciously stop the negative or thought that doesn't serve you and practice replacing it with a thought that does serve you, that will eventually be trained into your brain and you will think that way. You know, this has a lot to do with other aspects of our life, like weight loss. So I call this the Biggest Loser Syndrome, that show. I don't even know if it's still on. But, you know, you would take people and you would exercise them and give them minimal diet. Of course, they're going to lose weight because that's an external thing. The thing is like what in their brain, what wiring in their brain, and this is not about shame. This is not about anything other than what is the wiring in their brain that's telling them, you know, that, that there's some wiring in their brain that's the thought pattern that's like, and in the battle between your brain and your body, unless you retrain your body, like your subconscious, like in the battle between your conscious and your subconscious will win. So we have to retrain that brain. Okay, so the other thing is we're going to create a growth mindset. So creating a growth mindset is really important. The one way you can do that is first to just hear it. Awareness is the first step to anything, right? I never have time for this. I don't think this will work. Growth mindset. I am sure I can find the time because it's important. If you try and fail, that's wasted effort. If we try and fail, we'll grow from the experience. And 2 words is like yet and up till now. We haven't raised the money yet, and this is another way of saying in the past, like we struggled with fundraising up to now. Like you can use just up to now, and then what that does is put you in the present. In any moment, you can create a new future. Any moment, you can rewrite that story. You don't have to be bound to the past. You don't have to be bound to the past. Whatever happened in the past, whatever successes or failure, that's the past, and everything now is now forward. So up to now. When I work with organizations, sometimes we'll make big plans. You have this big plan, and then I see the growth mindset appear, and then all of a sudden it's like I can feel the fixed mindset back into the room, like, how are we ever going to get this done? And it's like, okay, you know what? Abundance is time as well. There's time enough for everything. Hurry is not urgency. So we think about what is the most urgent, what is the most important. There's a law called Parkinson's law, and Parkinson's law means that things take as much as you have resources as you have. So if you have 2 weeks for the project, it'll take 2 weeks. If you have an hour, it'll take an hour. And that's a thing about growth mindset is, you know what, Parkinson's law, if you have $200 for groceries, you'll spend $200. If you have $100, you'll spend $100. That's Parkinson's law. And so I teach this, like there is enough time and money. I was working with a client and they had gone through a PR crisis, and I said, and she's like, I just don't know, and like, and she was so frustrated and hurried. And I said, let's think about that. When you bring that hurry, when you bring that urgency and that lack and that fixed mindset to your team, that's what you're going to get back. If you can sit in a growth mindset and just know that whatever needs to be done will come forward and you'll find a way, when you bring that to your team, that's what you're going to get back. So when we rush around and get all hurried, that hurry is creating more of a fixed mindset. Okay. Another tool is, these are 2 tools that I use to adopt a growth mindset, is a board work plan and key for performance indicators. The great folks here at Nonprofit Hub are going to send you an email, and I will make sure that you have links to these documents. So this one is a board member work plan. This is an organization I work with. Goal 1, and you can use this for board or staff or anything. This is just a simple action step accountability tool. Once we become accountable for our actions and we can see that we are in daily devoted action, then you can start seeing results. So a board member work plan, and also what I call key performance indicators. Oops, sorry. These are key performance indicators. Key performance indicators, this is an example of a nonprofit. So every week you would look and see, okay, here's my key performance indicators. Here's the stats of my productivity. How many new donors, how much, Facebook followers, YouTube, whatever, like this is specific to them. Then I have activities. Activities are like blog posts or social media posts that you control. Performance indicators, you need somebody to help do it for you. Your email list size, donor meetings, number of new donors, Those are key performance indicators, because what is the most important thing is not the big goal. It's very simple daily action steps. I call 5 people a day. I do, very small action. And this is a way of tracking them, because if you're in this action every day, your goals are going to happen. The growth will happen. And it's just staying in that action, because we get distracted or emergencies happen. So I do this. I eat my own cooking. I don't tell you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. And I fill out my KPIs every single week. And I have an account of someone who works with me for accountability, because I help organizations with accountability, because again, I eat my own cooking. So, all right, now we're going to go to abundance. So we're going to explore the idea of abundance. There is enough for everyone, and be a model of sufficiency. So if we assume that there's haves, then we assume that there's have-nots. And we created a power imbalance, and we put the people with money in power and the people without money out of power. And really, money is an asset, just like all money is a way to manage, instead of caring, instead of like, I have to bring 2 chickens and a cow to trade you for, hay or whatever. This is an easier way, right? And and we give money. The money was supposed to help us, control our dealings, and really the money is controlling us. Instead of us controlling the money, it's controlling us. And when we assume that there's haves, then we assume that there's have-nots, and we create a power imbalance. But really, we all have assets. Every single one of us has assets and gifts, and we can all sit around the table together, from those we serve to the wealthiest. We all have assets, and we're all equal partners in each other's liberation. So one of my clients said he went to a big benefit. He's a small nonprofit. He's like, I don't know people who can throw down $5,000 at an event. This is crazy. And I'm like, let's be cautious of how that you see that. Oh, you're a have and we're a have not. No. You're equal partners, and you both have things to contribute to the equality of the relationship. There is an exchange, and it is an even and fair exchange. Okay, and then this is a big one, guys. Lead with emotional courage. What does that mean? What don't we want to feel? I think the 3 biggest things people don't want to feel is rejected, ineffective, or pushy. God forbid we feel pushy. I empathize with that. And also I wonder, like, if you're rooted in your value, people want to hear from you. They want to be asked for money. The number 1 reason people don't give is because they weren't asked, right? But we're afraid, like, oh, and this shows up like your mail, like email. I tell people email 1 time a week. Well, that seems like a lot. That's well, that's your conscious brain talking for you. Your subconscious is like, I need some reminders that you guys are around. And so we feel pushy. Oh, I don't want to feel pushy. What if you were pushy? So it's not that I'm going to make these feelings go away. It's that what I teach you to do is take those feelings and set them aside. So if you're driving, we have 3 ways of looking at the world: reason, our reason logic, our conscious brain, our intuition, which means everything outside of our body. Like, so we're listening and perceiving people's energy, like listening with the back of your neck, like reading the room, right? That's our intuition, and our emotions. And when we fundraise, what we need to do is say, okay, I'm terrified of feeling ineffective. I'm terrified of being rejected. And I'm just going to take that. I don't have to change it, fix it, diminish it. I'm going to own it, but I'm going to put it in the back seat. and I'm going to allow my reason and my intuition to lead this conversation or this engagement. So it's about leadership is about being a master of your emotions, not pushing them aside or diminishing them, but allowing them and just saying, okay, yeah, I'm feeling really nervous, and I'm going to just take that and put it over here for now, or put my ego aside and let my rational thought and my intuition lead. And so if we can be leaders of our and masters of our emotions, we can be masters of anything. If you can feel anything, you can do anything. And so really thinking about it's okay to feel all these things, and just developing some tools to work through those feelings. Okay, guys, here we go. Now, last point I want to make, because I want some time for questions. I hope you have a ton. Our objections. Here's what we want to do is, you're listening to me and you're like, this makes sense. I'm loving all of this. How am I supposed to help other people do this? All right. So, and not sound like a jerk, right? So objections are calls to leadership mastery. When people say, oh my God, I don't want, like say you have a committee, you're doing a capital campaign, you have this committee or your board or an event committee, and they're a little bit hesitant to, reach out for sponsorships. And they say, I'm a little hesitant. Like, these corporations don't have any money right now. Everybody's struggling. That's an objection. That person is actually speaking and wanting some help with the problem. It's not like, oh my God, will you just do it? It's like, thank you. So when somebody has an objection, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that, because now I can help you with it. And this is a key phrase in my life. I use it all the time. So what makes you say that? So what makes you say that you're feeling a little uncomfortable? Well, I just couldn't ask because it's really hard time, and blah blah blah, and they'll share like what the underlying hesitation is. And the key for you is to speak with them in a way that allows them, this is another big thing I teach, that allows them to receive what you want to hear. So you can give wisdom but not advice. Advice is like, oh, you don't want to do that, or you don't want to feel that, or that's okay, or it's not a big deal, or don't worry about it, or do it anyway. You would say, in my experience, what I've learned is that corporations, are the corporations that are on our list, they're okay with you asking, and they'll let you know if it's a good time or not. If I were you, what I would do is I would, just explore the idea with them, or you might consider, I invite you to consider, it's not you need to, you have to, you should. It is, in my experience, or if I were you, some of my most powerful mentors, before they would teach me anything, would say, Maryanne, can I tell you what I would do if I were you? And my whole brain, my whole body was like, yes, please tell me, instead of, here's what you need to do. You need to go down here and you need to talk to that person. And because when somebody tells you what to do, what's the first thing you do? You're like, you can't tell me what to do. So objections, hesitation is your call to greater mastery, to set your feelings aside. Let that rational brain and that intuition take over and be really present to what people, because there's a money story under there. Now that you know that, you can identify and help people reconsider what that is. Okay, real quick, I'm going to go you through this. At the board and staff roles in fundraising. So if you want to create more influence, or if you want to create more impact, you need to create more income. And if you want to create more income, you need to create more influence. Influence means raising the visibility of your organization to connect with like-minded people who are going to be long-term stable supporters. That's influence. And to do that, you have to connect with income. And to income, because we need that to create impact. So when people don't understand new donor recruitment and marketing, I say, well, that's influence, because you can't have income without the influence first. People aren't going to give to you an organization they never heard of, don't know, or can't find, right? So first thing is the influence. And the big thing is that we are so much more influential than we ever dreamed that we were. Everyone can play a vital role in fundraising. So they can be a visionary, they can help set goals, they can be a donor themselves, they can be ambassadors, your boards and your committees, they can be an ambassador, they can you know, what I call, they can open the door for you to walk through, and they can make connections, meetings, calls, and events. This is all fundraising. People think fundraising is just sitting across the table and sweating out an ask. That is one tiny part of it. It's like painting a room, right? The one thing is putting that brush to the wall. But who's got to pick the paint and clear the furniture? Like we just did my daughter's room. She went from pink, purple, Frozen to Billie Eilish lime green and purple, or and a hot pink, I swear. So, you know, like, and then you got to tape it off. And then that's the same thing. There's so many roles in fundraising, and that we can, and that if we have the right mindset and we have the right excitement and the gift and the purpose and the passion, we can embrace those roles and do it with a sense of abundance and adventure and wonder and exploration instead of fear, scarcity, you know, and rejection. And all it is a shift in thinking. All you have to do is change your thinking. All right. So from the last of this, whew, I'm doing good on time. I'm like rolling in it. Yes. Okay. So two things I want you to think about. I just shared 50 minutes of information. I want you to think about, from the information that I've given you, is what do you want to let go of? So what is a money story or a belief or something about you, your role in your organization that you want to let go of? What do you want to let go of? I no longer want to be this. I no longer will accept this in my life. And then what do you want to claim? So thinking about, what do you or your organization want to claim? So what do we want to go, like I say, we want to let go of the fact that we're just a small, struggling nonprofit. We want to let go of that. What do we want to claim? We have power, we do important work, and we are deserving of investment. That's what I want to claim, right? So, and this is just a way of reframing, like in the past and now I am, but thinking about, from what I taught you, what do you or your organization want to let go of, and what would you like to claim? Because that is the most important thing I can teach you, is just to have this new way of looking at the world, knowing that that the money and the hesitation is not it's not about discipline. It's not about the right program or the right script. It's just that, wow, we had a belief system that wasn't working for us. So we can create a belief system that works for us. Now, all those things are going to work better. Okay, so I'm going to just let you know that if you like this and what I'm sharing with you, I am inviting you to a discovery call. As you know, the principle of my work is I don't convince people to care. I connect with like-minded people, and that's what I teach you to do. If you choose to spend some time with me, we can talk about your money mindset. I will give you some clarity, some understanding, and a valuable insight. No matter what, you will have more clarity and understanding and more insight than you did at the beginning of the call. And together we'll plan your next best step. If that's me, that's great. If not, if it's someone else, that's great too. I model abundance as well. And, you know, I know that I'm not, you know, that we don't need, we can be great friends. I don't convince, I connect, and we're going to plan your next best step. And that could be us to working together. That could be someone else. That could be a podcast or a book I recommend, but together we'll figure out the best way forward for you to really start rewiring your personal organizational belief systems. And you can just go to connectwithmaryanne.com. I'll just share a quick story. This is my friend Tasmin. She is a client of mine, and the first time we did this discovery call, I helped her see that, helped her reframe her thinking around her growth, fixed mindset and growth mindset, and restructure her organization so that she could spend less time on grant deadlines and more time generating some other income. And it really was an eye-opening experience. So that is me. If you, and I invite any of you to come and just connect with Maryanne and book a time. And that is what I have, and I am ready for questions. Randy, how'd I do?
That was a lot. I still stand by. If we were able to meet in real life, that we would have a lot of fun.
I know, right? We're BFFs already.
I would do a discovery call just to have some fun.
So, all right. And what do you have questions?
Yeah, we have one, a couple here, and I'm sure more will start rolling in as we start talking. This one's an interesting one. We've overcome a PR scandal as best we could, and now we're scared to really move forward out of the gate and fundraise like we should, mostly afraid of social media backlash, which then may also scare donors away. Any thoughts around that? Have you had to work on that for someone?
I have a thought because I wrote a whole book about that. I really did. That's what courageous communication is about. So I would invite you to really, I would love for the person who asked that question to set up a call with me because I could really help in more detail. Really what it comes down to is trusting your donors, trusting that you know the way forward, and trusting that they will follow you. And because when I just had an organization that had a crisis and it's shaky, right? Because you are doubting the worth of your investment. And what I would encourage you to do is really think about being grounded in that you are worthy of investment, that you and that what you do right now is more important that you and that how that this crisis made you better as an organization, not worse, right? You are better for this. Things happen for us, not to us. So this happened for you and happened for you for a purpose and happened so you could grow as an organization. And that's the message that you want to communicate. And there may be backlash. In fact, let's just assume there'll be backlash. That's just going to be a part of it. That's the cost of doing business. Those weren't your people. They were never your people. And what happens is when there's a backlash like that is your people will stand up for you stronger than ever. And so that is actually why I wrote the book that I wrote, Courageous Communication. So, sometimes I wish my company was called Safe and Boring Communication, but that really doesn't, move the needle, right? And so you're going to have to sooner or later step into that value and know that that crisis happened for you and it happened so that you could be stronger. And now you get to communicate that strength. Next one.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say she is amazing with sharing realistic stories. Do we have any other webinars planned with Maryanne? We don't personally. I would love to. But do you have a website page where you have your upcoming events or anything?
So I do. My website, MaryanneDersch.com. Please go. Except Randy, remember I told you? So I am launching a whole series of courses. One is on influence. One's called Fearless Fundraising. One's called Magnetic Messages. It's marketing. And these are live online courses for individuals and I bring together organizations from all over, individuals from organizations all over the country, all different types and sizes, and we learn together in cooperation and community. Those aren't on my website yet. So if you're interested, just book a call with me and I'll walk you through them. But please, you can go to my website. My blog posts are the best, and download that ebook because that has a lot of this stuff in there too. And thank you. I should have said thank you because I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge that I give you some real world, on the ground, actual stories.
And of course, I remembered you telling me that. I was just giving you a little softball to let other people know what you're up to. Is Facebook fundraising a good way to get funds? I have some opinions. But...
I have some opinions too. So my opinion is no. Well, so yes, it can raise funds. And the thing about social media is reach is declining. It's now more of a pay-to-play operation. And my goal is I teach people is to get people off social media and onto what we call reliable reach, which is your email list, your YouTube channel, because your YouTube is a subscription based as well. So thinking about Facebook is good, but it's not really a long-term thing. It can be a short-term hit, but for long-term stability, that's growing. Basically, you're building your house on rented land. And what you want to do is build your house on land you own. So yeah, you can rent for a little bit, but what you want to do is create that foundational wealth of that foundation of support on the land that you own. That's the best way I can. All right.
They're rolling in and we're almost out of time. So I want to respect your time.
No, it's
so
did you have any add to that?
No, I was right in line there. It's a good way to start getting people engaged potentially, but you're not getting donor information very easily, so then you can't
Right.
create a relationship. So,
And it's just harder to connect. I think the reach now is 0.05 per 100. So
yeah,
1/2 of one person out of 100 followers, or that you have, will see what you post. So it's more of a, unless you start paying to play, and that is not my expertise, but I know it can work. But you really want to work with somebody who knows those algorithms and can show you where your best investment is. But I wouldn't put my money there. I would put my money on and building the house that I own.
yep. Wow, I don't. Last question. There's a few that are interesting. Um, so here's one that I feel like you've probably been handling quite a bit lately. With the current pandemic, how do you handle fundraising when board members feel it's not the correct time to fundraise?
Right. I just did a whole webinar on this, and I could do this again for you guys if you want. It's called "Help My Board Won't Raise Money During Coronavirus. What do I do?" And so that's a long answer. Again, if you want to connect with me, I can go into more detail. Really, it's about kind of what I went through already. It's helping, first of all, being empathetic, because it does feel scary and hard, because it feels like so much is going on, and then really working with them to reframe it for themselves, to say, we are, first of all, and reframe that situation for themselves, saying we owe it to our donors to let them decide. I would want to decide, right? You don't want anybody asking for you. But then also, I think the other thing is appeal to because right, we have the rational brain, we have our intuition, and we have our feelings. So you address the feelings because it's bringing up some insecurities for them. And I know it's your board, and you don't want to talk about feelings too deep, but it really is, there's some hesitation there that you can explore. But second, bringing in the data, bringing them back to the rational brain, which is, let's look at the organizations who are really doing well. What are they doing? Do we want to do what they're doing? I think so. And what are they doing? They're asking for money. And the Wise Giving Alliance study I cited, and you can find other resources out there that show you the data that says this is the best way to do it. And then work with them on the things that I taught you today, working through those emotional blocks. What are they afraid to feel? And then helping them understand that that's okay, and that we're all called to kind of like up level our game right now, and this is their call to do that. A lot of it is really not them, it's you. So whoever asked that question, it's what I work with people on is raising their floor, right? Raising our standards and saying, I said, my board's not engaged. Okay, what makes it acceptable for them to do that? So raising your standards, and when you raise your standards and then you ask them to raise their standards, you're coming from a place of embodiment and alignment, which is key. So that's me.
All right. Well, there's some other good questions in here, but I want to respect everyone's time. So thank you, Maryanne. This is great. I would have my video camera on, but I'm at a station that it's not very good lighting, and
I know it's about to storm here for like the 4th time in a day, 2 days. So it's like it keeps getting darker as I'm on this. I feel like it's like 5 o'clock at night. And but I encourage anyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone who participated. I'm fine to answer some more questions, if that's okay, because there's still like 114
people are sticking around. So let's do this.
Trying to do. I it's it's webinars and trainings like this are so weird, because I'm used to like really connecting with people.
Right.
So I like the questions because I know I'm connecting,
So here's a good one, and I feel like I've lived through this, maybe not for a parent teacher organization, but for some organizations that I volunteered for. Their leadership is in a fixed mindset, and they plan the fundraising events, and I can picture these fundraising events in my head because I feel like I've been at this committee meeting. Um, and so they want to grow, and so how can I help this group develop a growth mindset and get from that fixed mindset?
So that is a great question. And it's a, first of all, let's know that this is a process. All right. If they've been in this mindset for a while, it's just hang with them. So the thing I want you to know first is to just stick with it, because you see the opportunity for change. You see the opportunity for growth. They're not with you yet. So as a leader, which you are, right? Like as a leader, you're facing the headwind, and so you're kind of on the top of the mountain, and you can be like, this isn't working. I'm getting down. But in what what you're practicing is influence, right? That's what I teach, influence. How to get people who you have no authority over to do what you want them to do. All right. And the first step is stepping into leadership yourself, which being here today and asking the question, that tells me that is something that you're willing to do. So stepping into greater leadership of yourself and saying, how can I embody a growth mindset? How can I model that for them? Not so much make them want it as much as I am it. Okay. Then thinking about, okay, being the second part is listening. What are these underlying beliefs that are causing this fixed mindset? And then what I do is show them that they have grown, that money has come, that there's growth around them. They're just not acknowledging it because their mindset is not aware of it. So because they believe that there's no opportunity for growth. The last thing I can tell you is when I work with organizations and I sense a fixed mindset. So that means there's limited money and there's limited time. So like those little puzzles, like with the numbers, and you slide the numbers around to get them in order, those little plastic things. Maybe I'm dating myself. You used to have those when we were kids, right?
Oh no, I love those things.
Limited space, right? So what can you let go of? What can you move? What can you switch out of? What can you minimize? What can you rearrange to make room for something to grow a little bit, like one seed to grow? And they can see demonstration of it. Like you said, this is at PTO, right? Like I raised money for my kids' PTO. This is what happened to me. I was taking a tour of the school and they were like, yeah, we're trying to build a new playground. I said, well, raising money. I said, well, how much you need to raise? And they were like $30,000. And I go, that's not a lot of money. Like, guess who became the fundraising chair? By my actions, by me recruiting new donors, by me, I just said, we're going to grow. Here we go. And they were like, okay, well, it's better than sitting here without any money, is it? And by my actions, I showed them the growth and I showed them that they were worthy of investment and changed the culture. But it did take like a year. Like, I'm not going to lie, like cultural, it takes a lot to turn the yacht around. So, but just being mindful of it. And also for the person who answered that question, and this is just so important, is like, everyone is exactly who they are. No one needs fixing or changing. Everyone is exactly where they are and where they should be. And when you respect that, this is who they are, and I can witness them, like, and I speak very openly here, like with an open heart, because there's something in them, there's a belief system because this is an ego protection, right? We're protecting our ego, we're keeping ourselves safe and protecting our ego. And the ego protection, like, so there's the, like, what don't they want to feel? They don't want to feel like a failure. Maybe they feel like if they go out and they can't do the money or do what they want, they're going to feel like a failure. So it's easier to stay here. Okay, so that's something you can work with, so I'm always looking to get to really the root of it is, so that I can help people shift their thinking and then really move through that. And I just admire you for getting in there and be willing to take people with you. But leaders go first. So embody what you want to see, and really, like, I teach people about energy, but holding your energy up and allowing them to come with you. just holding that space for them, like, and then letting them come along. Okay, anything else? We still have 92 people.
Let's see here. Oh boy, now you've opened the floodgates again. Uh, here's one. Any advice on getting famous people to donate?
Honestly, no. But
No.
I guess my question is, why would you think, okay, so what makes you say that? Let me practice my own teaching. Why would you think you need a famous person to donate? And for me, that feels like what I call the silver bullet or the magic bullet, right? If if this famous person, if Beyonce underwrote, then we wouldn't have anything else to worry about. Like if I have this famous person, then I don't have to think about money anymore. And if that's the situation, that's not going to work for you. So because really nothing replaces the day-to-day work of just relationship building. Because let's say as building a strong foundation for like your organization, my business, it's not the fast way. Building this brand of attraction, building your influence, fundraising, Randy, you know this, fundraising, this is the long game, and the organizations that do the best are the ones who are creating, like managing their present and creating their future at the same time, and so I guess my nature of your question is, if you want somebody famous, like why is that, and what do you think that's going to get you out of the hard stuff that you don't want to do? Because it's only hard if you think it is, right? It can get easy at any time.
Yeah, I would echo the fact that the ice bucket challenge. Remember that, and how big that was, and then all these people were trying to replicate it. And it's like you can't replicate authenticity. So if you happen to get a famous person that cares about your cause, I call that a bonus.
Yes.
Bonus money. So for instance, the National Arbor Day Foundation got the attention. They're in Lincoln. They're based out of Lincoln, Nebraska. They got the attention of a YouTuber influencer person. And boy, they had a good end of last year because this influencer did all of this stuff. And then of course, Arbor Day stepped up, helped give him tools to raise millions of dollars actually. And it's an amazing story, but I don't want to take a lot of time around that. But again, authenticity. The fact that this guy wanted to plant more trees was his goal, and he just reached out and said, "You're the Arbor Day. I'm guessing you know how to do this." They're like, "Yes, we do, good sir." And now we are going to learn how you are influencing and how we can do that. So,
I totally agree. It's like, and I wonder, I don't know, but I wonder what the long-term effects of the ice bucket challenges. And there's always like the grass is greener thing. Oh my God, they have it so much easier because they got that famous person or they got the ice bucket. And it's that's just stories we like to tell to justify our own struggle. So.
Yeah, and I will tell you that the Arbor Day Foundation did not rest on that, did not try to do anything additional around that. They took it and they stayed business as usual around all of the things that they were doing. So I agree. It's about creating authentic relationships, and if they just so happen to be famous and have a lot of influence, that's great.
They have with your cause, right? Like that came from that person's heart. That was a true alignment, right? Like that wasn't like, I'm going to pay you to talk about us because you have a lot of clout or a lot of influence. That was a true alignment of that person's values, that person's mission, and the Arbor Day Foundation mission, right? That was an alignment of missions.
Yep. It was all, again, I all those authentic things. So one last question. They're starting to. Well, we gained one in the last. Maryanne,
it's over. It's still going on. I'm back.
You're starting to have influence that people are just coming back in. Let's see. Some people want us to do just big fundraisers, and I personally appreciate doing smaller ones, and they can bring in a good amount of funds. And so, what do you think about the balance of those kinds of things as far as fundraisers?
I don't know if I'm so like big, like I'm sorry, like big in number of people or big in like,
My guess is a gala versus a little wine gathering at at a donor's home where there's like smaller groups of people, or
I don't know if it's a versus like this versus this. I think it's a yes and I think it all has to be part of a very focused and intentional program that has purpose in everything you do. So, because any strategy can work, it you know, um, any strategy can work given the right circumstance, right? So, and so instead of thinking about is it this or this, like what do you want to accomplish? What is the best way to do that? And and that's the thing is like this event situation I think has ripped open the fundraising world, philanthropy, the nonprofit world to say like, okay, events is not philanthropy. Events are experiences that you pay for. And when we don't have events, that means we have to be philanthropic. We have to ask. We have to be good stewards of individual giving. And in the sense that small events may streamline or support that, but the key is whatever you do is that it's part of a comprehensive plan, that everything you do has a purpose. And once you understand what I always tell people, what are your goals? Who are your audiences? What do they want? Do they like big parties? And that's the thing that donors say, they like big parties, but we think donors want a big party. They really don't. And so there's studies that show that what donors want is a good relationship, and what causes donor retention more than anything is strong relationships and lack of staff turnover, like consistency of staff where they have relationships with people over many years. And so we think people want a party, but really what they want is to feel important. And parties are nice, but we're learning right now that I tell people your magic can show up in a lot of different ways. It's not limited to a big gala. Your magic can show up one-on-one. Your magic can show up in a small group. Your magic can show up in a lot of different ways, and it doesn't always need to have a big party. Although, like, I love a big party. Like, you get that about me, but what I think that's what we think people want, because again, it feels even. But what really people want is to feel valued and to feel like they are making a good investment and to understand the outcomes and how their contribution is the outcomes. And in the book that I share with you, the book that I share, I go into more detail around that and around what donors, the data and stuff that show what donors want.
All right. Thank you so much. There are still so many more questions coming in, but we need to move on for the day.
I know.
But thank you so much, Maryanne. This was a great hour and a half with you, and I really have appreciated learning from you today. And it appears through the comments that a lot of others have appreciated your candor and your thoughts as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the reason why I'm looking here is it's a dual screen. Thank you all for attending. And and for those of you in the US, go out and have a safe, like super safe holiday weekend.
All right.